Hey everybody, this is Natalie with Treasures of Minnie, and this is the card we're going to make today using the Flavor of the Month Banana Split card kit that I showed you from Scrapping for Less in my last video. This is one of the stamp sets that came in the kit from Fawn. It's called Ahoy, Matey, and we're going to use it along with one of those collections. If you remember, it came with 4 collections, and each collection has 6 pieces of paper. What I learned is that 3 of the papers were more for a boy card, and 3 of the papers were more for a girl card. And one out of those each had some little tags and stuff on it. There's also a little boy pirate and a little girl pirate. So the card you saw at the beginning was the little boy one that I made, and today we're going to make one using the girl colors. So I already cut out the pattern paper in the striped, and that was cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And now I'm going to use some craft cardstock and just tear the shape of some sand. And I cut that and fit it at the bottom. And now I want to make a treasure map, and I'm drawing that on a piece of scrap white cardstock myself. I'm just kind of drawing some wavy lines in here with the pencil, and you'll see me go over it several times until I get the shape that I want. I'm trying to kind of make it look as much like I can, or as much like the one on the little boy card I made. And when I get the shape that I like, I am just going to fussy cut that out. I did end up shaping it a little more too before I decided on if it was right. But here comes the cool part. And when you do this, you want to use a thicker piece of cardstock because you're going to peel the top layer of that cardstock off. If you can see what I'm doing right here. I'm doing this because it's going to give our cardstock more of an old, worn out texture. So you can see when I put my card together, this is kind of the idea that I'm going for. Now I'm going to take this Tim Holtz edge distresser, and I'm going to distress the edges of all of my pieces. And I wanted to show you right there that if you don't have one of these, you can use a pair of scissors. So I'm doing the striped panel, the sand, and the map. And then I'm going to take 2 distress ink colors. This is Old Paper, and I think the other one was Dusty Concord. Not sure. I'll try to add that in the description below. But first I'm going in with the Old Paper, and I'm just going to kind of randomly put it all over. You don't want to try to smooth it. It's going to be almost impossible for one with the texture of this paper. And we want it to look really old and worn out, and we want it to have lots of texture. So just lay it on there random, and don't worry about blending it. And after that, I decided I even needed more texture. So I'm taking this, I think it's walnut stain, distress oxide ink, and a Q-tip. And I'm just kind of scribbling it all over, mainly around the edges. But you can see I want it to keep that line shape. I'm really wanting it to have lots of texture and just to kind of look crumpled up and shaded. And then I'm also going to go back in a little bit with that Dusty Concord and add even a little more of it. But I still decided I wasn't quite there yet. So I got out 2 of my gelatos. I got out a really dark brown, and I just put it around the edges. It almost makes it look burnt, sort of. And I'm just going to rub that in really good with my finger, just smoothing it around the edge. And then I'm going to come back in with like a metallic gold one, and I'm just going to put that in a few spots around the edge, but not everywhere. But I'm just going to rub it really, really good with my finger, and I am finally happy with the look that we have here. So now I want to stamp on it, and so I chose the elements from the stamp set that I wanted, and with some Memento black ink, I'm going to stamp out a treasure map. And as you can see, I masked off the little mountain so that I could stamp the palm tree behind it. And now I'm going to stamp some little waves for our little boat. And I just think this is looking so cute. But I decided it needed some color. So with my zig markers, I'm going to go in and color all of the little elements, the little stamped images. And this is really neat because the way we textured this paper by tearing off the front piece, it it kind of makes the zig run just a little bit, which makes it look even older. It's a really cool effect. And I do have the numbers of the zigs that I am using down on the bottom left hand in the order that I use them. So I'm just going to keep going, and you can shade. If you can see, I'm using a lighter color on top here. You do have to move it around a little more and work at it a little more, but you can blend the colors together quite well, actually. So I'm going to move on to our little boat here, and since on the first card I used red since it was a little boy card, but for this one I decided since she was a little girl pirate, she would probably have some pink on her ship. So that's what I was going for there. I thought I'd let you guys in on a little something while y'all are watching me color. I'm sorry I didn't get a video out last week, and I'm going to try to make up for it this week, but I have had a setback with my hip and my surgery. I seem to be collecting some fluid in my hip, and it's swelling up, and they're just not really sure what to do, so we're kind of playing it by ear. But an X also needed, there's an X stamp too, but instead of stamping the X in the black right on the map, I wanted it to be red, but I wanted it to be a bright red. So I just stamped it with some red ink on some white cardstock and fussy cut it out and then glued it to the map. Now, all maps have these little dotted lines, or the ones that I've seen that are like this, treasure maps, where it just shows everywhere they've been. So with the black Sharpie, I just went in here and made some little crazy dotted lines and made it zigzag and loop around and just kind of go all over the place. And I am really in love with this little map. I'm just like, yeah, tickled. So I have a gold gel pen right here that I'm going to go, I went over the little circles in the boat with. Now with some worn lipstick oxide ink, I edged the striped panel, and now I want to do the sand. And so I'm going to use both of the browns. It's walnut stain and vintage photo, and you can see here I'm just sporadically putting it all over, and then to give it some sparkle like sand does, I went in with my Wink of Stella and just dotted it all over the place. Now before I glue my stuff down, I like to lay stuff out like this. I also wanted to show you, if you'll see here, the little boy doesn't have a white edge around it, but if you see here, the little girl does. I don't like the white edge, and if I left her feather on, she's too big for the card. So I trimmed all of that off, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, I did not show you this part because the video was running long, but I did use some Prismo-colored pencils, and I just colored all of those little elements. So I want to start putting the card together now, and I'm going to glue the striped piece down and my sand down with some Tombow Mono, as well as my little treasure map. And now you can see here, I want to go ahead and I'm not gluing these down yet, I'm just laying them where I think that I want them. And you can see how I cut the feathers off and I cut the white around her and she fits better. I'm letting you know, I also popped her up on some dimensional pop dots. And then I glued the treasure chest straight down with some Tombow, but I am popping up the bird and the extra jewels that I'm going to put here around the outside of the treasure chest. When I do the bird, I put the dimensional at the top, but I put a little glue where his tail was at, so he's kind of popped up, but his tail is glued down. Now this is one of the little tags that was on one of those 6x6 designer papers, and I'm going to cut the green off and just leave to make it smaller so it fits better on my card. And I'm going to stamp Ahoy Matey, which is also from the stamp set. And then I'm going to edge that with some of the walnut stained Distress Oxide ink But before I put that on top, I want to go ahead and get out my glossy accents and put that on different areas of the card that I want to kind of stand out and be shiny. So I'm doing that on the X marks the spot. I did it on the coconuts on the pine trees. And let's see, I think I'm going to do it on the little, I think they're called the hull. I'm not sure. The little circles on the front of the boats. And just a few more places. I think I do the bird's beak, and I definitely do the treasure chest of the gold. And I'm also going to do the jewels around the outside. But I'm also going to do it on the little girl. Sometimes these pre-made cutouts like this, they don't really look handmade, and they kind of take away from the crafty part of it. But I have found, and you can do this with stickers too, if you take glossy accents and you just add it sporadically to some of the spots, like I'm going to do on her, it gives it more of a crafty look. I like to do this a lot when I use these kinds of elements on my card. Now, once I have the glossy accents everywhere that I want them, I am going to pop that that little tag that we did ahoy matey on. I'm going to pop that up on some of those foam squares like you see here. These are the same foam squares that I used to pop the little girl up. And we're just going to pop it right here on front of the map. These are the sequins that came with that kit. I'm going to dump a few out here, and I am just going to kind of play with the placement of where I want them. This I usually play with for a long time because I don't think I do a very good job at this. I see some people's cards and their sequins just look so beautiful, and for me, I just don't feel like they ever do. But maybe it's just me. But once I get them where I want them, I am going to use my glossy accents to just put a little dot down and glue it down. The sequin mix also came with some seed beads in it, and I am going to actually put a couple of those on the cards too. That's what these little bitty tiny ones are here. I just put a good dot of glossy accents and set it right in there. That's the main reason why I'm using the glossy accents, because it dries shiny, so it'll help the seed bead stay shiny as well. So that is about it for this card. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, I am sorry about last week. I am going to try to do 2 more cards with each one of the little collections that came in this card kit from Scrapping for Less. It's just taking me a little longer because I don't really feel that great. But anyway, I also wanted to remind you guys that I am also on Facebook at Treasures of Mini Craft Corner. I am also on Instagram now as well, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And please give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and make sure you click the little bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a video. So here are the 2 cards. You can see that we have one that kind of would be for a little boy and one that looks more like for a little girl. I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So please give me a thumbs up and leave your comments and ask your questions. I love reading them. And until next time, hugs and loves from my craft room to yours. Bye.